Happy Friday, listeners. We do this live, which means we bring insights to you live and also bloopers to you live. You'll notice Utsav has a really nice t-shirt over there. Utsav, remove your hand. What do we see over there? And how can
AI
people get
native.
one?
AI native. They write to us, leave a comment, and on our social media, on our WhatsApp community, or even on this live stream, and we'll find you.
Yes.
Make sure the comment is smart. We're not distributing them freely. We have limited quantities, but they're all fun. Compound Daily, 996, Locked In, and AI native. I'm not an
And
AI
we
native.
have 4 guests today.
Or guest today. Deep tech special today.
Crazy. Let's go.
Yeah. So let's cover the news quickly. I think the major thing that happened, and people are tearing this apart on both sides of the argument, where somebody is saying this is because of AI productivity gains, or this is just a bloatware being reduced from the company. So Jack Dorsey, who was the founder of X or Twitter previously, his company that he still is an executive at called Block, they laid off 40% of their staff. So 10,000, they've come down to 6,000 people all in one go. And he did this all via a small caps announcement on X. So the truly Gen Z way of laying people off. It's a sad thing that has happened, but people are debating again AI efficiency, or is this truly just bloatware being reduced from companies? But the stock market reacted positively to this. The stock jumped 24%, making 600 million more for Jack Dorsey on paper gains at least. And the company is profitable. Their Q4 gross profit was 2.8 billion. And they've spent on social gatherings within the company as well. So the company seems to be doing well, and he wants to take this number of per head gross profit up significantly as per his recent X
That's the
post.
general wisdom they dish out, right? Which is if you have to do one of these things, do it from a position of strength and cut once and cut deep. And I think his post also says something in
But
that regard.
40%, I think that's just insane. So he makes this comment that within the next year, I believe majority of companies will reach the same conclusion and make similar structural changes. And I mean, you'll be remembering the Elon Musk cut at Twitter as well, where I mean, he just went pretty heavy in terms of these layoffs as well.
There's one counter to that, which is, the Citrine piece. Was it earlier this week? God, everything moves so fast in AI. Like maybe it was earlier this week, but it caught everyone in a frenzy. And then since then, a couple of rebuttals have come out, including one from Citadel, where one of the lines in their rebuttals is that, I mean, all of this, I'm just going to paraphrase it a little bit, but that doomsday scenario, I mean, it just presupposes that intelligence is going to be either cheaper or free. And that is far from, I mean, compute costs money, you have to pay for electricity and a dozen other things. And so only if the marginal cost of compute rises above the marginal cost for human labor is there going to be like large labor substitution. If that doesn't happen, then our concerns might be too ahead of its time. I have a lingering feeling Jack might be forcing some sort of regulation against like AI layoffs and masses, which is why he just preempted them and did like a preemptive strike in a sense.
Do you think they're coming? Like, do you think job cuts by AI will be regulated?
It's speculation, but I personally think they're coming.
And what happens? I mean, if we're going philosophically for a minute, like, do you think like these AI native companies will typically be low in terms of headcount, or will people still, I mean, use this as an excuse to like just chop people off or low
Yeah.
performers out of the team?
I mean, if you're AI native, then by design you can just build a company around a lean team. But if you're AI adaptive, then you have to restructure the organization. And my sense is that because jobs around the world, especially in developed economies, are a contentious political factor, they will step up and create some regulation around just laying people off en masse, or
Yeah.
doing something to sort of redistribute any productivity gains and capital.
And let's talk about the world of releases. I mean, February has kept up. I mean, it's going at an absurd pace. Like February 5th saw Claude Opus 4.6, which is a big upgrade for coding and different use cases for tooling. Then came Gemini 3 Deep Think, and then came 3.1, then Grok 4.2, then Claude Cowork had some upgrades as well, new connectors. As recently as yesterday, we saw Perplexity Computer and then Google Nano Banana 2. It is insane. Like all of these were supposedly an annual release cycle until last year, and now they're happening on a weekly basis.
At this
Uh,
point, I'm wondering if the models are dictating when they're going to release their next version.
And it's just happening so fast. Like somebody actually made a joke on X where they said that to keep up with all of this, you truly need to be unemployed. And I actually ended up posting that you just need to tune into TON where you'll get all the latest insights
Far
and
better
updates,
way of doing it, yes.
keeping up to date. Talking about Indian venture capital, there was an article that came out on Newcomer, guest written by Sriram, where they went deep or sort of like a peek behind the curtain of what went down at peak 15. But apparently Ashish Agarwal, who was one of the top performing MDs for leading their Grow investment, which became the second highest outcome from the tech ecosystem after Eternal, he demanded extra carried interest. So he was already getting partner level economics from the fund where Grow had invested, had been an investment, and he wanted more of it. And so, I mean, he wanted more than triple digit million returns, and that's caused some friction between the team.
I have two things to say on this, by the way.
Yeah, please.
One is maybe one way of avoiding this would have been to be a solo GP like yourself in the first place, or doing
You
like
can
a
never raise $1 billion as a sole CEO unless you're Lockie
unless you're
Groom.
Elliot Gale.
Elliot
Or
Gill, Lockie Groom, or
yes.
yeah.
I mean, on a lighter note, one or two, of course, single asset deal by deal SPVs and no such conflict arises. But I think the second point is, and maybe this is the most serious one, which is venture really a meritocracy where the sponsor is entitled to disproportionate gains? I don't know how you factor this into the fund docs, right? I mean, you could say X% of an unknown outcome and X% could be 5% or 10%, but X% of an unknown number is still an unknown number. And
And all of this is penciled in or discussed when, I mean, it's 10 years back. So a decade, you're looking a decade into the future. And it's very hard to imagine when all of these funds were being created, India had not seen a big liquidity cycle as well.
very true, very true.
So when you're investing in Grow, when stockbroking existed in many different forms like Sharekhan, even Zerodha at that point of time, you cannot imagine that Grow would become the second largest outcome. And so, I mean, of course, with hindsight, it's easy to say that, hey, wanted more of the economics, but in the future,
Yeah.
of course, and somebody putting you in business as well. But that being said, I think economics and I mean, venture returns and all of this is a very opaque industry. So I think people do want to study this a little bit more closely.
Mhm.
All right. I think we've covered what we had to discuss this Friday, but I think we've got an exciting lineup of guests today. Let's welcome our first one, Gouthami from AquaAirX. Gouthami, welcome to the show.
Hi there, Gouthami.
Hi, Dhruv. Hi, Utsav. Thank you for having me here.
Congrats on raising from Zerodha. We were talking about the stock market, but Zerodha runs Rain Matter. So Brain Matter has been awesome and supporting awesome companies like yours. So for our listeners who are hearing about AquaAirX for the first time, can you explain what you do and what are amphibious drones?
Yeah, AquaAirX is a deep tech maritime robotics company. We make underwater intelligence accessible, faster, reliable, and make things move quicker in oceans. So that's what we do. And amphibious drones are the future of maritime segment, where you don't need to have multiple systems to do your inspection surveillance. You could combine them in a single system, which can seamlessly fly and dive underwater like a science fiction.
Gautam, maybe it'll help us and our listeners if you could explain how maintenance is conducted when a ship is at sea, and traditionally what roles have divers played, and what do products like yours have to what role do products like yours have to play over there?
Sure. Today, if you look at any inspection, maintenance, repair in offshore, typically this undergoes a long cycles because first you need availability of the ships, then you need an ROV, which you will further deploy through the ships, and then you have a lineup of very skilled, highly skilled divers who goes underwater even today to do certain inspections and maintenance. Now, how AquaRx could solve this is, let's imagine this as a picture that you don't need to wait for the ship, you don't need to wait for the skilled people. All you have to do is fly our vehicle from the shore, send it to the location where you need to do the inspection. Bird all the way from shore to the location flies in the air, dives underwater, does the inspection, collects the data that you want, and relays back through satellite or through the RF and comes back to your location. So the entire life cycle of you doing the inspection in the offshore is cut down by 80%. And bringing this intelligence is our vision, and that's where we are working towards.
Can you talk to us about the aerodynamic design and how you've managed propulsion in the air and then however you navigate underwater?
Oh yeah, so the very critical part of amphibious is this aerodynamics and hydrodynamics. If you look at our design, the first version that we came out with a drone, quadcopter type of a design, but we understood that, using the same sort of thrusters in both aerial and underwater is basically being inefficient in either of the domain. So, and also will not be able to achieve our endurance and range that we require. So we came up with this flying wing design and optimize our both aerodynamics and hydrodynamics for underwater. And we use the physics in its own capacity to help us in underwater, because it's a flying wing. You might have seen manta ray, which is basically a wing sort of a design done by US Navy. And something similar was an inspiration, and we said, why not try a fixed wing type of a bird underwater, which could also fly. And that's how we have optimized. We have a dedicated propulsion system, which are optimized for their independent domains.
And as a company that was founded in 2024, I read one of your achievements was cracking the TRL-6 milestone. So talk to us about that, and maybe other engineering challenges that you found were not solved before, but you guys are the first ones to do it.
Oh yeah, so we started officially in 2024, but me and Jitendra, we have been putting work towards amphibious drones since college. So that's how, we were able to prototype things faster, fail faster, and find out some of the problems very early in our journey. Even today, there are a lot of problems, a lot of things that are still yet to crack. But some of the critical parameters or critical tech that we have solved is our transition. In the entire mission profile of amphibious drone, the critical part is exit from water to the air. Rest everything is solvable, but that's the critical part, and that's what we have been failing over last I would say 12 months, and we happen to achieve and crack that in the last 3 months. And that the same was also demoed to IAI. So that way, the very critical component we have solved, and there's still a lot to solve in next 12 months and bring it to the life.
Talk to us about the Israeli defense partnership that you just mentioned.
So, II Newsphere is a global accelerator program. This is the first time that, because of course, the India-Israel partnership, they have come to India. They have started this accelerator program to support deep tech startup. And this was their first cohort, and they handpicked only 4 startups throughout India in different domains. They don't basically, like, let's say if AquaAirX is in maritime, and they won't pick another 3 4 companies in maritime in that cohort. So they picked amphibious drone because they saw a clear use case for their harbor and port security integration. And we happened to demonstrate our technology. That was a very good time for the team to like get pumped up, and everybody was on fast track mode to make sure that we demo it to the AI ecosystem. They brought in a lot of clarity. They brought in a lot of user and operational knowledge and experience. So that partnership has been good. We are looking for a longer collaboration with them. Let's see how it goes.
Gouthami, talk to maybe other deep tech founders who are listening to this about how you guys have managed to marshal the resources you're going to need to sort of bring your ambitions to life. My guess is even the prototype to test it, you need advanced facilities like wind tunnels, etc. They're not available everywhere. So how do you go about doing all of these things?
Yeah, I think for early stage startups, it's always difficult, especially hardware startups. You in our journey, there are a couple of things that worked out. One is our college, Nitte Meenakshi Institute of Technology, where we graduated from, have been very kind to us to provide us the space, provide us the basic infrastructure to start off with. A lot of time, basic infrastructure is also a problem. So the college has been kind for last 2 3 years. They've been giving us a free space to utilize, and we are very, I mean, on this television, I would want to say thank you for them. And second, yes, so IAC has a internal facility, and moreover that we extensively do simulations, because in hardware centric designs, every time when you fail from an hardware perspective, it's very expensive. So we do a lot of simulations, both on hydrodynamics, aerodynamics, structural simulations, to make sure when we are actually in the field testing, we minimize that iteration. Being said that, we run things parallelly. We don't wait for simulations result to completely come to us, but because of our experience and because of some amount of knowledge that we have, we try to take a shot and test it before the simulations result come in, especially in the controls. We don't wait for our PID tunings, or we don't wait for our controls to actually tell this is what the numbers say it has to go for PID. In simulation, the problem is it's endless. You can keep doing it forever, but you need to get the
Real world.
actual, real world numbers coming in
I
between.
understand. Do you also have a founder community of deep tech founders where you guys exchange best practices or figure out what to get where? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Without founder network, you can't really do anything. Like not just tech, right? In every aspect, founders talk to each other in
Mhm.
hiring, in legal, in fundraise, in teams. How do you handle teams? More than tech, everything else we talk, because we all are tech founders, but what we need to learn from each other is how they have managed to scale teams. That's some of the, we have a robotics community where we exchange notes.
And
Amazing.
what does commercialization look like for you?
We have just started our commercialization, but being said that, we are still 6 months away to actually bring our products to commercialization ready. By this year end is where we are looking at fast tracking our commercialization. By then, both products, Avatar and Nexa, would take a good shape and be ready for actual world.
Amazing. Thank you so much, and all the best on this amazing mission of yours. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. So thanks for having me here. Wonderful talking to both of you.
All the best.
All right. Now let's shift focus. We're doing this rapid fire thing today, right? Dhruv, we're shifting
yeah.
focus, shifting context. So now we're welcoming our next
Who's
one,
next? Yeah.
Madhav, and he's going to talk to us about US healthcare. Madhav,
Oh.
welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thanks a lot.
I love the
I was,
background. What does it say? Is there an
it's
infinity
a
symbol? Or...
yeah, it's an infinity symbol. It's something that we have at our company, which sort of symbolizes together exponential is what we go after. So that's truly what it means.
Awesome. So let's introduce the company and the work that you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, so my company is called Jindal Healthcare. We essentially help hospitals and providers get paid by insurance companies. Our primary market is the US, which is where we operate out of. And in essence, our goal is to help providers focus on quality of care so that they, and for us to focus on reimbursement so that they can focus on quality of care.
So the US healthcare system is known for a lot of wastage, right? And
Mhm.
you're using AI to improve that. So the revenue cycle management that you focus on, India, you're building, I understand that you're based in India, solving for the US healthcare. And I think a lot of this play revolved around cost arbitrage, maybe. Do you think AI is coming for that as well? Or, we've been having this discussion on the show where, just recently we were discussing on the news segment today where AI is taking away jobs as well at companies like Block, or at least so they're saying. And a lot of chatter about AI jobs going away, all of that stuff. So, how does that affect your industry?
Yeah, I'm very philosophical today because, like you said, lots of news coming out. I think every day is very different. You had Jack Dorsey come out and say that he's slashing like half of his workforce or whatever that number was. And, you had, at least in our space, Andreessen Horowitz is a pretty big investor, and they came out in this article that was talking about infinite healthcare, right? So, broadly, 100%. I think AI is definitely coming for jobs. But I am philosophical today because, I've been obviously in this space for a while. There are two concepts that are very important to me. One is Jevons paradox, which not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but in essence, what that means is, as technology automates, there's actually an abundance of things to do, and an abundance of people to do those things, rather than lesser amount of sort of things to be done, right? So technology leads to growth rather than to scarcity, and you have to sort of emerge out of the scarcity and build those jobs up, right? So the view that I have and that we have as a company is How can we convert the human knowledge worker into a machine operator, rather than for them to just focus on sort of manual, tedious tasks that they've been doing for a long time. And the second is that, which is something that we are trying to contend with, which is probably what everybody's contending with, is something called the bitter lesson, where, people truly believe that, generalized sort of model of intelligence is probably going to trump a very specialized model of intelligence, right? And so, we are a very vertical specialized solution. We want to make sure that we remain relevant. And some of that is harnessing the subject matter that we've developed over the last 6 years in operating for clients and so on and so forth
And
in the market that we have.
Madhav, to understand what the company does a little better, can you
Yeah.
walk us through the patient journey and the role RCM plays in it? And is RCM also what you might call a system of record?
Yeah, so I'll answer the second question first. We are a layer on top of the system of record. We're the system of action.
Mhm.
The system of record is what, in at least the healthcare world, is called the EHR, which is the electronic health
Mm.
record, right? So, if you're a patient, you go to a
That's more
doctor.
patient focused, and RCM might
Correct.
be more hospital revenue focused, right?
Wider focus.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So the focus that we have, like you said, Utsav, is to layer on top of the system of record, right? And we're focused on making sure that we're billing out those claims and that we are getting paid on those claims. So we take whatever information there is in the system of record, and then we action that and make sure that we sort of put in intelligence to get paid on those claims, right? For the first question, the process, at least in US healthcare, is a little different to India, in that, in India, the patient has the liability of getting the claim paid, right? So if you were to go to a hospital in an outpatient setting and you have you stay overnight, etc., then you have to go to the TPA desk and, file your documents and your claims, etc., and make sure that that's approved before you're checked out, right? And before they discharge you. In the US, actually, what happens is that the hospital and the providers take on the liability of getting the insurance companies, or sorry, the hospital takes on the liability of getting paid from the insurance company, right? So, as a patient, all you're doing is just handing over your documents, and you're telling the hospital, this is, who I'm insured with, BCBS, Medicare, whatever, and then the hospital takes on that liability, right? It's also more sort of wider network in India. Usually, you have to be in an outpatient setting, right, in order to have a claim, right? In the US, insurance coverage is for primary care, for dental, for eyesight, etc., etc. So it covers a more generic list of services. So the things that we do, and that's sort of how the models are different, but the thing that we do is make sure before the patient arrives to after the patient leaves, right, we're sort of following the process that's needed to get paid, right? So right from the appointment to the payment, that entire process is what we handle for the hospital so that they can get paid on the claims that they need to. So
And
that's typically how it works. Yeah.
And are we talking about massive hospitals, or are we talking about smaller care providers as well?
Our target segment is sort of mid-sized physician groups, specialty physician groups, and rural hospitals, actually. So we're quite mission oriented in that the large health systems, they will get paid by the payers, right, by the insurance companies. But what tends to happen with the smaller companies, the independent groups and the rural hospitals, is that you're dealing against a counterparty, right? And so you have to sort of have that negotiating power, right? So the smaller players are, they're getting squeezed for the margin, right? And typically they don't have the experience or the expertise in order to work the long tail of claims, to identify underpayments, the things that you need in order to get the last 5-7% of your top line, so that you can actually be a viable business. So our target segment is truly those groups that I wouldn't say only are at risk, but need the help in order to operate as an organization. So that's typically who we go after.
So
And
this is very interesting because I mean we don't always come across people who found a way to crack what we typically call tier 2, tier 3 markets here in India. And how you built an org that can do that is
Yeah,
especially your sales org.
right. It was tough. Listen, I started this company in 2019. It took me a while to get up to speed. I built another company which is still running called Auction8 that operates out of India, which maybe we can talk about another time. But building from India to the US, penetrating rural hospitals, tier 2 markets, like you said, Dhruv. It's a tough thing. I think credibility, trust is relationship-based selling is all that's worked. And we've built that trust in specific segments and certain markets, right? So for example, we work a lot in Texas, right? And there's an association of rural hospitals, right? Now that we've been sort of ingrained in that area for a while, people recognize us, right? And it's been a slow burn. So from a org structure penetration perspective, it's very tough, especially in the healthcare market. You have to have localized
Have you hired
presence.
locally a lot?
Yes, yes. So our team is based out of the US. We have a sales organization based out of the US. We have a customer service organization based out of the US. Word of mouth is the best way to get sales. Maybe not the exponential growth, but it compounds pretty quickly. And as AI is sort of evolving, we've done more demos in the last 3-4 months than we did in the previous 2 years, right? We signed as many contracts in the last 6 weeks as we have all of last year. So I think things are evolving pretty quickly. I think people are getting used to an outcome-based model, which is what we offer quite quickly as well. And they want to go after that because they see the inefficiencies in that model. So there's some tailwind behind that. But honestly, it was a pretty slow burn for the first couple of years trying to figure out how to deal with the sales side of the market,
You mentioned a couple of interesting things in passing. AI, because of AI, that your sales cycle is reduced and shortened. Talk to us a little bit more about that. Like Dhruv mentioned AI adaptive versus AI native organizations. And I mean, since you started the company in 2019, but you're clearly adapting to AI pretty fast. So what's enabling all of this?
Right. So I think two things, right? One is we actually started as a services-based company, tech-enabled services, to really understand the market. My background is technology. The other company that I started is a technology company, AquaAirX. So my goal was to figure out how to build technology in order to be a better company, right? That's obviously become a lot different in the last year, where we are actually transforming into an applied AI company, right? We already used AI in order to be better at the things that we were doing. But like you said, adaptive versus native, right? In the next 4 or 5 months, we want to transform to native, right? And I think that, that's very important for us as an organization, right? From a sales cycle perspective, I think the market is at least the market that I'm in, can't speak generally, but the market that I'm in, the sales cycle has been 6 to 9 months typically. It's been quite long to build that trust. And we're seeing that reduced to, 3 to 4 months, right? And people are taking decisions a lot quicker because earlier the models were also how can I handle RCM end to end, because there are a couple of different processes within RCM. And now the market is a lot more in tune with how can I have a point solution for a specific task that I can do, because I can sort of implement very quickly. I can implement a system of action pretty quickly for that specific task, right? So the sales cycle and the experimentation for that is increasing quite quickly. So seeing somewhat of a crunch, the payers, again, counterparty risk, the payers are becoming more intelligent as well. They're using their own AI, they're increasing denial rates, that you have to work essentially and get paid on, right? So people are seeing that go up, and therefore they're looking for solutions to that problem statement. So yeah, very interesting time. Lots of change happening.
Super. So do we have one final question for Madhav before?
One final question. Do you use this as a wedge to, I mean, like you mentioned, that trust and word of mouth and those things working in your favor, and especially in an industry like healthcare. I mean, I'm guessing it's a crowded market. Like you hear about different healthcare systems operating in silos. Sometimes you have, companies like Kaiser as well doing the full stack thing as well. So where do you think your advantage in RCM helps you expand into this healthcare pie?
I have a fun question to add to that, so which is, hey, Madhav, is Maha real? Like the RFK Make America Healthy Again? Is it?
I mean, listen, I think it's real in that people are listening to him. How much will come out of it, I think, is a question mark.
Are the burgers getting smaller?
They're
100%.
not. The burgers are becoming bigger and they're becoming more expensive. As
GLP-1.
is, yeah, exactly. I mean, there's always a counter to the to the food that you eat, you know. Um, but to answer your question, Ujjav, listen, man, there's like 400 companies that we compete with. That's how fragmented our market is. The market is like $350 billion. It's a huge market, right? And that's why it's so fragmented. Certainly, it's not a winner take all type of market. And certainly, there's going to be solutions that come up. But the model that we started with in 2019 is something that we've evolved from, in the last 2 years itself, right? And I think that market is going to go down from 400 companies to probably, 60, 80 companies, who knows, right? But I do think that there's a fair amount of room and there's a lot of innovation that's happening in the models as well, right? So you have companies that are now talking about, at the point of care, being able to recommend not only from a clinical perspective, but also from a reimbursement perspective as to how to think about, what you should be documenting, how you should be doing that, how you should be billing out to the insurance companies, etc. Right? Because the latency and the compute capabilities have already emerged where you can do that. So I think there's some level of innovation that's going to happen that will change the way that we operate from an RCM perspective. But I do think that the landscape from a competitive perspective is going to boil down and crunch down. I think the pie is going to become bigger. I think there's, 30, 35, 40% penetration from a agency perspective. I think that's probably going to go massively up, at least in our target segment. And models will evolve, and certainly there will be companies that die or get bought out for their contracts and so on. And hopefully we'll be one of the winners that emerge out of that.
And the
That's
US
what we're
healthcare
planning
pie
for.
is large enough. So all the best, and thank you so much for joining us on the
Yeah,
show.
thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for
Super
having me.
fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, listeners, we're context switching again. We've got Pratap from Vervesemi, our first guest from the semiconductor industry. So we're truly keeping in line with the deep tech special today. Pratap, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Utsav. Hello, Dhruv.
You're on a very solid mission, and thanks for driving this forward. Everyone's talking about the ISM 2.0. We'll cover that in a bit, and you've raised a $10 million round as well recently. So congrats on that. Let's break all of that down with you. Can you explain what Vervesemi does for our listeners?
So, Vervesemi is a fabless semiconductor company. Fabless means we don't have captive fabrication plants. Actually, there are no fabrication plants uh, doing commercial jobs as of now in India. There is one which is very exclusive to government. So, fabless semiconductor companies are like NVIDIA, like Qualcomm, like Apple, who don't own the fab. So, fab is owned by other uh, companies which are, it's like TSMC, UMC, you might have heard of.
Course.
So, these companies, they just specialize the fabrication. And the companies who are actually controlling the intellectual property and products like NVIDIA or Apple or Qualcomm or Broadcom, you name, these are all fabless. So they don't own the fab. They use these fabs as a subcontractor to do the job. So Vervesemi is a fabless semiconductor company which is working in the field of analog signal chains. So analog signal chain is like, if you consider your human body as a as a chip. So in this chip, the brain is the CPU. The senses, eye, nose, lips, ears, they are all sensors, and hands, legs, they are actuators. So this is how a machine or anything works. So what we do is the analog signal chains are that anything happening in the physical world, how it is transmitted to the CPU for processing. So it's like your hand, leg, mouth, eyes, ears. And this is what we specialize in. So we are building many products which are focused on, our speciality of analog signal chains.
Can you help us understand with some examples, Pratap, the products you build, which systems are they embedded in further?
So the products, actually, Vervesemi owns more than 140 IPs in
Wow.
different markets. But just to give you an example, we so many customers doing mobile base stations, these cellular towers.
Yeah.
They use our IPs for receiving the data you create, the data we are transmitting right now. So all this data goes to the mobile tower and then sent back to the network and then streamed just like this one is happening.
And in order to build the products, I'm assuming you also have partnerships with foundries?
Yes. So basically, it's not a partnership. It's like more, buyer supplier kind of relationship. But for intellectual property, there is a partnership because this intellectual property components we are building, they are very critical to the fab. Like you want to build a chip, and for building that chip, you need some function. If it is not tested in that fab, it is very risky to use the fab. So analog components, they are very much dependent upon the quality of fabrication. It's not like digital. Digital is very easy. In terms of fabrication, the digital yields are always far, far better than what you
Yeah.
can achieve with analog.
So if we were to talk about the value chain, maybe a little bit more about, I mean, the India Semiconductor Mission 2.0 was announced. A lot of incentives were put behind this mission as well. But for founders who are listening to the show, hearing about the semiconductor industry, who want to study what the value chain looks like, can you spend maybe 2-3 minutes talking about that, where the opportunity lies for India specifically and for founders in India?
So semiconductor, see, semiconductor value chain is actually pretty simple to judge with. One is the fab, right? The predominantly all this semiconductor industry is like you are using the sand and making the gold. This is what happens. Some of the chips, even we build, if you compare them by weight, they are more expensive than gold. So what happens is there is one thing which is fabrication plant. Then second part is the packaging plant. It's called ATMP, packaging plant. And third one is the fabless manufacturer. So fabless manufacturers are subcontracting the packaging, subcontracting the manufacturing. So value chain, like any other product, it varies the same way, right? Who is more close to the customer makes most money. Who is most far from the customer makes the the profitability is like that. So
And in terms of capex as well, I mean, that must vary, right?
yes, capex is very variable for fabrication plant, for ATMP, and for fabless company. Overall, this whole industry is very capital demanding. So fabs create something like if a product is probably 1 rupee, the fabs create revenue of something like 30 paisa. And depending upon what they are doing, ATMPs make something like 10 to 15 paisa. And the rest all is made by the fabless manufacturers.
Pratap, can you help us understand where the national priorities are at the moment? You mentioned that there's only one fabrication facility, mostly for I'd imagine strategic use or something like that. And then and also in terms of the nodes, like at what nanometer level are we very, very comfortable, and where does the future lie for us? And also, I think in the value chain, one thing we could perhaps cover is OSAT, and if there's an opportunity for India over there.
Uh, uh, See, let's answer your questions one by one because these are too many. So, first question is where is our national priority? So, when supply chain was disrupted during COVID, there were many components which were not available at all. And you are building a car which is worth maybe 20 lakhs rupees. And the component which was actually stopping it to be sold was costing maybe 100 rupees. So it is very critical industry. Like you are maybe operating chips manufacturing plant, or biscuit manufacturing plant, and imagine there is one chip or one motherboard which gets broken. So what happens? The whole plant gets disrupted, right? And you can continue only after you receive the replacement. So the criticality for semiconductors is like you have nothing around you which is fully mechanical. So those days are gone. Even for automotive, which was automotive, and some of the industries are very slow adapter of this kind of automation. And some industries are very fast adapters, like your mobile phone will adapt AI faster than probably your engine of your car. So basically the national priority is that you should not be zero. When you are, one of the probably third or fourth largest consumer, you should not be completely dependent upon imports for things. Imports can be disrupted by many ways. It could happen because of some kind of pandemic or something, but it could also happen because of some strategic non-compliance or non-alliance between two countries, or some leaders, some politics, for whatever ways. So for our national priority is very simple, that we cannot do 100%, and nobody does right now. Even most of the countries which are much ahead from us, they also don't do 100% of semiconductors in their own country inside. So you don't do 100%. It is very difficult to do 100% of it. But for some of the critical industries, we should have possibility to produce semiconductors inside. And like you ask, Dhruv, the technology nodes. So let me tell you one thing. There are few technology nodes which are called golden nodes for semiconductor development. And the technology nodes are not decided because everybody wants to do very high-end compute. It is decided based on how many applications it can actually
Absolutely.
fulfill. So,
Yep.
so there are two golden nodes. One is the 55 nanometer, one is 28 nanometer. Most of the analog which is around you, except your
Yeah.
mobile phone, is beyond 55 nanometer. You don't use anything below 55. But even if you want to do some digitally sophisticated things, then 28 is the another golden nodes. Most of the FinFET nodes, which are below 16 nanometer,
For the
they
mobile phones, like I think TSMC is using 3 nm, right? 3 nm or 3 mm.
yeah, this is for application processors.
Digital, yeah.
This is for application processors, but the application processors are high-end mobiles. If you exclude them, then most of your needs are probably 55 nanometer or something around that. They are fulfilled. There are three main applications. Actually, um, if you want to distinguish between two, one is the compute. Okay, so all compute intensive jobs, they need high-end digital processing. And most of the smaller nodes are very efficient for doing digital or improving density. So up to 22 nanometer, the cost per transistor is getting lower. Okay, so if you go lower, like 22, your same chip, if you just move the node, it will be cheaper in manufacturing. But beyond 22, the cost increase per transistor. So the same chip, if you take it to 16 or 12 or 8, the cost will be more.
Out of curiosity, what's the highest transistor density in any chip at the moment, Pratap?
The this is the there are two companies in the world. One is NVIDIA and one is Cerebras. So they have complete wafer as one single chip. It's like this, and one wafer is 12-inch. So transistor density is trillions of transistor.
And before we let you go, can you tell us the scale of the business? You mentioned the number of IPs that you have, but the scale of the business, the partners that you're working with, anything that you can share?
See, most of the Indian companies, they are all starting up. We are only company which is exporting IPs across the world, and the company is profitable since inception, and these IPs are very popular. Some of the biggest customers of some particular industries across the world, they belong to us. They use our IPs. They are dependent upon our IPs. Um, the, uh, the the other business is semiconductor products, where we are just, we just raised our Series A. We have just started building sampling some products to customers, building some new products, but we are just starting up. For IP business, we are 8-year-old company, and we have been pretty active in the IP licensing area.
All right, Pratap, thank you so much. I hope every device that is sold in India in the near future has a made in India or a designed in India chip coming out of Vervesemi. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Utsav. Thanks, Dhruv. Thanks, everyone.
All right. A final set of guests today, Shubham and Sushant from Prava. They're building Stripe for agentic commerce. Something pretty exciting, pretty topical. So please,
Are they AI native like you, sir?
guys, do you want this T-shirt or not?
For sure.
For sure.
Welcome
Why
to
not?
the show. Let's introduce Prava for our listeners, and then we'll ask you some questions around it.
Thanks, Utsav, and thanks, Dhruv, for having us here today. And about Prava, we are trying to make a payment stack for AI application and AI agents to make payments on your behalf using your card and wallet. What Prava does is that it integrates with your AI assistant and AI agents, and you have to just pre-approve the transaction. And whenever you ask your AI to actually go and do something for you on your behalf, it is able to do it securely using your card and wallet. And that's what our recent announcement with Visa was all about. Yep.
And when did you realize this was a problem to be solved? Like, what was the aha
Yeah.
moment for you?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, we were building kind of in the fintech space only, and we were trying to create like small AI agents as a GTM tool to launch on Reddit for people. And that's where Shubham and me, we both realized that what if AI could actually like go and make payments, because AI is able to schedule a call for us. It is able to do a lot of stuff for us, because we all have grown up watching Iron Man movies. Like Jarvis is there, you're talking to it, it is going out and doing everything for you. So we're like, why not have something like that? AI is already there. It can act on our behalf. If it had to make a payment for us, maybe it can do it as well. And that's where we digged into a problem. We went to a hackathon in Singapore, and there we built like a smaller version of it using stablecoin infrastructure. And it got, I would say, a lot of traction from developers. And people started giving us idea that, okay, this can fit here, this can fit there. And that's where we're like, okay, cool. I think so. There's some potential in this. And then around January of last year, we both went
I
all in.
read somewhere, Sushant, that for a while you guys were like, let's just take a punt on stable coins becoming a thing in India, and then that wasn't happening, and so you decided to take matters into your own hands and then build what
Yeah.
you built now. Tell us about
But-
that story,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, like, what happened was like initially we started working with stable coins, and we were like, we're trying to create like a remittance startup for India, where people from outside India would be able to send money here. Because I was working with some of the US clients, Shubham was working with a Japanese startup. We both were working with clients outside of India, and we felt like getting money in a bank account is like a huge hassle. Like even if there is a current market rate of 85, you'll get 81 from the bank, and the money will hit you after a week. So we were like, okay, this is very clumsy. We had experienced stablecoin. We saw that it can settle up in seconds. It can hit your bank account very soon as well. So we were like, why not just make it happen? But obviously, we were running into a lot of hurdles with different regulators, and there was no clarity in India as well on stablecoins. So we kind of like lost hope on that, and that's why we were just doing some small experiment with launching small tools for people to try out to get some traction over there. And that's where we will realize, like, I think so we need to work on something where we will be able to deliver right away, where we'll be able to give something in the hands of people and they will be able to experiment. And that's how we came about this.
Dude, there's a lot of love for Prava in our YouTube comments. There's like a Prava army going on. Like people are sending like emojis and stuff. So, so we've got a lot of fans already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry for getting the question. So I think there's one
Shubham,
question.
by the
that
way,
might-
looks familiar to me from, I think, a Nikhil Kamath video, if I'm
Yes.
not
Yeah.
mistaken. Were you
Where-
guys on there?
You guys raised
Yeah,
some
I
WTF
raised-
as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think the Shubham can talk about it a bit better because he went viral with his bit on Nikhil's podcast. Shubham.
what was
No,
the
I
bet?
think it,
Tell us about that.
no, nothing much. It was just like about an AI assistant. So I was just showing it to folks at WTF, the other founders from the same cohort, and apparently it was termed as. So it has like a anime persona. So people.
Was it an AI girlfriend?
Yeah, so later on it was termed as AI girlfriend, and so that bit got like a bit viral, and yeah, people were just recognizing me from more like an AI girlfriend guy than Prava. So there was like whole funny thing going on.
Let's change that right now. Let's have
Yeah.
Prava forever associated with your identity.
For sure, yeah. Please do
But-
that.
I mean, will people trust an AI with their credit card? Like, will there be, how do you build guardrails into this whole system? This can go wild, right? I mean, we saw
Yeah.
with that OpenClaw bot, which was running around and like, I don't know, burning tokens, spending money, sending random replies. Like, safety will be a big concern in this.
Exactly. I mean, when we started, I mean, safety was one of the major points that was being asked by all the people around us, and we had to like find an answer to it because you can't like you can ask your AI to actually go schedule a call for us. Maybe you might be able to willing to give your email access to AI, but card and money in your bank account is something no one would actually do that because it can drain your account at any given point. So how do you put the guardrails in? How do you put the security in? That becomes a major question.
I'm
So
guessing
how we thought.
regulations will come up. Like in India, payments is typically extremely regulated, right? Like
Yeah.
you mentioned for stable coins, of course, but this is just a whole different level. Autonomous
Yeah,
payments.
100%. But the thing is, like, whatever is happening right now, we can make it work with the existing infrastructure, and all of it is regulated. So I'll talk about what we have done with Visa. Is that when you approve your transaction, when in a partnership with Visa, what happens is on an AI application or AI agent, when you're approving a transaction, we are taking an approval from you through a simple passkey verification or like a Face ID or Touch ID, where you approve that, hey, I want to buy this bomber jacket, a black bomber jacket from Zara for, let's say, $28. So once you approve that, what happens is that a new tokenized card is created for AI behind the scenes, and which is given to AI to go and shop on your behalf. Now the catch here is that this whole
With a particular-
card act.
With a
Yeah.
particular cap, I'm guessing, yeah.
Yes, yes. So the amount is capped to 28. The merchant is also capped that can only be spent on Zara and it can only be spent on the black bomber jacket that you approve. So this is the infrastructure change that card networks like Visa and MasterCard are bringing in. That is what this partnership is all about, where we're working with them in implementing this for AI application and AI agents at large. So any AI agent and AI application can integrate Prava in just 4 lines of code with a SDK and then get started. They need not to go and talk to card networks and go through the hassle of compliance. We take care of everything for them. They just need to get started with us with our SDK, and they'll have everything live and working for them.
Maybe
there
there's
were-
an opportunity for someone to build like a personal finance school for AI agents that they don't become spendthrift. But
But
okay,
there
so
were,
go
I
ahead.
mean, just one thing. So there were these commerce protocols, I think, Dhruv, we discussed, right,
Yeah.
on the show.
Yeah.
Like Stripe
Yeah.
was launching
Yeah.
something, Shopify was
New
launching
primitives
something.
altogether. Yeah. In fact, it's a great point that you
Yeah.
bring up, Utsav. And even speaking of regulations, even today we can save our own card details, right? I mean, except
Yeah.
for the CVV.
Tokenized, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
Even Apple Pay is coming to India, apparently. There were
Yeah.
news around that
Mhm.
also. But talk to us. Is this built or adjacent to these commerce protocols which Stripe, Shopify, I think all of these players are launching?
Yep.
Yeah, sure. So commerce protocol, so how they are more like first of all, protocol is something like in the paper you say theory. If we do this, this is something can happen. And this is what everyone is kind of releasing. And it's job of the giants to actually do it because they have that distribution and say to bend everyone and say, hey, accept this kind of structure. This is the protocol you have to accept, and we can do this. Of course. So also these protocols like brought more adoption to the space. Earlier, like I can remember like when we were starting last year, so we were talking about when agentic payments, people were not even getting it and were like, how can AI even start making payment? And this is and also like AI tools were not that matured, but now people are using AI to take actions actually. So these protocols are helpful and also like how Prava is operating. So end merchant and applications, they don't understand what protocol is. They just care like, can you enable agentic payments for us? And this is what exactly we are doing. So UCP, ACP, AP2, whatever the protocol is, we are making it available for the end developers as well as for the merchant. So they don't have to do the heavy working of understanding the protocol, changing the catalog, exposing their feed in a certain way. We do that for them. Also for the AI apps, we don't make them install tens of SDK, integrate with each of them. We just ask them to install our SDK. We make them available over any protocol they want to use. Also, we started with Visa. We are bringing more payment methods. A few of them you already talked about. So we are bringing all the payment methods so that AI apps just has to integrate Prava and they are good to go for any protocol, for any payment methods they want to enable for the end users. And same goes for the merchant.
Shubham, who's most enthusiastic about agentic commerce? Is it the card networks? Is it the merchants? Is it issuers? Is it the
I'll
customers, the card owners?
Yeah, I think I'll say it started with the indie developers and AI apps, but big thing happened when ChatGPT brought their results. So I think it was something around like 15% of their search query was about searching about a product. So this was like a huge number. ChatGPT has like a huge user base and like so many queries. So 15% of them were like related to shopping. So this, I think these kind of numbers became like exciting for merchants as well as the card network, because if they don't do it, then something else will come up and take the pie over there. So now I'll say like everyone is kind of excited, and also like India is not behind. India NPCI is also doing a lot of things in that space, experimenting a few more things over there. So now I'll say everyone is kind of excited. No one's
Are
behind
you
as such.
expecting to add RuPay as well?
Yep. I mean, we are soon going to have like a UPI integration that we are working on. So we have also partnered with a bank in India. So we'll start working on it. But our focus started with US because of this partnership with Visa, different card network, and because of the AI application that we're working with her largely from there. So it made more sense for us to focus on that market right now. And adjacently, we'll also start working on India because we've got a really action in India as well from a lot of people and applications.
I mean, just for us to understand what the scale of agentic commerce is right now as things stand in the
Yeah.
US, like, do you have any numbers you can share?
Yeah. So, I mean, like overall, what's happening right now is that a lot of transactions are yet to pass through agentic payments yet. Because the thing is like these transactions and these implementation are a lot happening like at the beta stage. So there are a bunch of AI applications which are doing thousands of transactions every day with these kind of integration, but it is still to be going live in production with a bigger application. So the only thing that comes to my mind is like the integration that PayPal did with Perplexity. So that kind of integration have come out in the market where people are actually doing it, but those are still very traditional and regressive in terms of how the interface comes out for the user. Because when you're asking a user in an AI interface to fill up a form for you, that is not the best case. But yeah, the kind of market that we're looking at, it's predicted to be go at around hundreds of billions of dollars as we're looking at it, because every interaction in AI application where a user actually wants even a microtransaction or any kind of shopping interfaces, these transactions are going to go up. In US alone, the whole e-com market is around at 250 billion. And even if a small pie of it comes out in the market with agentic payments, it's going to be a huge market.
Guys, I'm wondering if ever there's a payment failure, if the agent makes an immediate reattempt.
Right. So everything is like, so what we have built with the card network is basically when agent fails to make a transaction. Of course, there can be retries, but it can't go beyond what is being told. And also, if there is a deduction of money but not fulfillment of order, for example, agent went on a merchant website, it placed an order for a minute, money got deducted, but now merchant has cancelled the order, maybe because of n number of reasons. So in that case, best part is the reconciliation is easy and refund is easy because it goes to the source of payment, which was the original card of the user, because it is directly, so issuer acquirers and card networks are in the confidence and in the process. So this makes it like whole easier, and the onus of this whole does not come to the AI apps as well. So the moment merchants cancel the transaction, the refund goes directly back to the original source of the payment, which was the end user's card.
All right. I think we're almost at the end of time. Dhruv, any final question, or should
Can
I
I ask a
go
fun one?
Yeah, please.
Guys,
We're
yes,
okay with that. Big one.
yeah, no, I'm just asking them. So, if the card companies get too aggressive with their sales tactics, and we have agents calling us to sell us stuff that we don't want, are you guys going to put agents in customers' hands so that they can push back and just?
We'll
God
definitely
knows,
do
like,
that. I think so. if that saves you.
I have another boomer question or millennial question or whatever you want to
Boomer
call
to
it.
nahi ho aap, I think.
But वो internal philosophy boomer वाली हो गई है. Agentic commerce, I never thought that agents would be buying and paying for all of this. So, I'm guessing like whenever you speak to a VC or an investor, they'll ask you this question that why can't Stripe do it? Are they structurally not positioned for this? Or,
Yeah.
Even Razorpay in India or Stripe globally where you're targeting US?
Yeah. I think the structure plays a major role here because the thing is, the way it works is that when you're on an AI application, you're not integrated with hundreds and thousands of merchants outside of your interface. So there are like roughly around like on Shopify alone, there are 20 million merchants over there. And you're not integrated with all of those merchants in one single place. So how do you actually allow your AI agent to go and make payments on different kind of merchant? Each of these merchants are going to use different kind of payment gateways. It could be Stripe, it could be Aiden, it could be checkout.com, it could be any other network or any other PSPs over there. So if Stripe really has to enable agentic payment, they'll have to build an infrastructure which supports payment on all of the payment gateways, which is something which is not in the favor of their business. So they would try to build something which would always favor their own business, which is the ACP protocol, which is the Agentic Commerce Protocol, where they have allowed like a shared payment token with OpenAI and ChatGPT. So people over there will be only be able to shop with merchants which are on Stripe already. But what happens to 80% of merchants which are not on Stripe? So that is where we come into picture. We become kind of an orchestrator of payments, agentic payments over there, and we are able to switch between and route between multiple payment gateways and payment service providers. So that's something which any of these existing PSPs are not positioned to do well.
Awesome. You have earned an AI native T. Thank you so much. And whenever in the future my agent goes and buys out something for me, I'll always remember this chat and recall this.
For sure.
Wishing you all the
We'll
best,
make
guys.
sure it's Prava doing it for you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much for having us.
you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Cheers.
bye.
All right, listeners, that was it from Dhruv and me for today. We'll see you on Monday. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Bye-bye.